Hi everybody and welcome to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. In this video we have a one story video with two segments of updates from the subreddit Am I the A-hole. So if you want to get started with the story, just use the timestamps below the video. Now I'd like to give a quick shout out to everyone that supports me. Thank you so much, it really means a lot to me. And now let's get started with the story. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole and is by user Throwaway and then a lot of numbers. Am I the a-hole for calling my sister-in-law a racist after she compared my cooking to making Kung Pao chicken? For context, I've been married to my wife for circa 10 years and we're a mixed race couple. I'm Asian and she's Caucasian. I've gotten along with her family, my mother-in-law, brother-in-law and sister-in-law, but I always felt like my father-in-law and other sister-in-law, Sarah, never liked me. I'm a professionally trained chef with 15 plus years of experience and I work at a high-end Chinese restaurant, a spin-off of a popular one in Beijing, in a large US city. My crew and I have won several awards and I've been explicitly told I'll be the next executive chef. Sarah is also a professionally trained chef and works at a popular upscale French restaurant in the city. She constantly brags about it and, no joke, compares herself out loud to Ramsay and Bourdain. Whenever I'm at my mother-in-law and father-in-law's house and helping out in the kitchen, Sarah is always criticizing everything I do, whether it's chopping, bracing, marinating, etc. She always butts in with comments like, I think you should actually do X like this. I've been patient for my wife and sidestepping those comments, saying things like, thanks, but I think I'll stick to the way I do it. Things came to a head 2 weeks ago when my wife, father-in-law, mother-in-law and I were in her parents' kitchen preparing dinner for my mother-in-law's birthday. We were running a bit behind, so things were heated, which I kind of like because it reminded me of work. And that's when Sarah walked in. She took one look at what I was doing, scoffed and said something like, "Oh wow, okay, so that's not the right way of doing things." It hit a nerve and I pretty sternly told her to stop criticizing my cooking and that I'm also a chef like her. She laughed and said, "Making Kung Pao chicken at some Chinese restaurant doesn't count." The kitchen went silent. Father-in-law snorted and chuckled and my mother-in-law yelled, "Sarah, what is wrong with you?" I stopped what I was doing, swore at her, and called her a racist piece of crap, apologized to my mother-in-law for not being able to stay, and left for home with my wife. Apparently, this caused a massive fight after we left, with my mother-in-law, brother-in-law, other sister-in-law taking my side, and my father-in-law and Zara saying, "It was a joke, but kinda true," and that I was being too sensitive. The extended family somehow got wind of this and now everyone is arguing and taking sides, with my wife even getting texts from some of her cousins apologizing for Sarah's behavior. Despite being on my side, my wife is begging me to apologize so that the fighting will stop, but I refuse to because F Sarah and her blatant racism. Am I the a-hole? No, OP, you are not the a-hole at all. Sarah is absolutely and way out of line and she should be the one apologizing. Not her cousins, what's that about? I mean, family can't apologize for you. The only person that can apologize for Sarah is Sarah and she has to mean it. And regarding her comment, honestly, so out of line in so many different levels. Not just the race-hating level because that's obvious there. But also regarding the food itself. I'm not a chef, but I love Chinese food. It's amazing. And I'm pretty sure you need to be very well trained to be able to make that food and get awards the way you do. Cause let's face it, preparing something with that amount of ingredients and making it taste fantastic like it does, that requires skill. So yeah, Obi, you're not the a-hole, and you should tell your wife that she shouldn't be asking you to apologize. She should be telling her dad and her sister that they acted like asshats and they should be the ones apologizing. So what do you guys think? What is your judgment in this situation? What would you do in OP's shoes? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to check out their judgment. Mephisto131 says, "Not the a-hole. Cooking Asian food doesn't count as cooking is racist, incredibly uncalled for, and shows how much of an entitled know-it-all Sarah is. Glad most people over there are on your side. But yeah, don't apologize when you did nothing wrong. ADG1983 says, please, for F's sake, OP, do not apologize. Sarah is racist. It may well have been a joke, but it was an effing racist joke. I'd be goddamn livid that your wife is telling you to apologize. That is disgusting behavior from her, and she's saying that racism is acceptable, even when it's against someone she loves. At least there are some in her family who don't think racism is fine. I'd be going scorched earth over this crap. I made this up on the spot says, not the a-hole. I'm also a chef and restaurant owner. Lots of Michelin stars on my resume, lots of awards, lots of certification, CMC. My repertoire and experience, and the bulk of my career is based in French cuisine, which I'm sure you're aware of is thought as the base of elite cooking. But we're also thought of as arrogant and full of ourselves. And it's a reputation many of us have earned. So it's something a lot of our friends and family have learned to deal with, which doesn't make it okay. What you do absolutely deserves respect. And the fact that she and your father-in-law so quickly snickered at an obviously racially charged comment is very telling. The added fact that your mother-in-law immediately spoke up in opposition lets you know it's been a topic of conversation while you aren't there. And you should easily be able to tell who is a decent family member and who is an a-hole. Furthermore, it's effing hilarious that she compares herself to Ramsay and Bourdain, two TV personalities that don't garner much respect within the very high end of our community. If she'd said Keller, Répète, Trois Gros, Lefebvre, or Pazade, I think she knows what she's talking about. But since she didn't, she obviously only learned to act like a French chef, not to cook or study like one. OP's edit. My wife has also informed me that now Sarah may be in trouble at work and she's blaming me for it. Apparently, one of her co-workers heard her rant about what happened and reported it to management. Edit. To clarify, Sarah is blaming me, though my wife is partly blaming me. Well, there you have it. The community definitely sides with OP that he's not the a-hole, Sarah and the father-in-law are definitely the a-hole, and this last commenter, the Michelin star chef that we just got here, he gives a pretty thorough explanation of the whole issue and what OP can take away from it, and also what big of a douche the sister-in-law is. So what follows now is a string of updates from OP separated into two parts. Update 1. So it looks like one of my wife's cousins found this post and put it on Sarah's Facebook wall, going, "This is you, right?" Her Facebook friends are starting to comment with things like, "If this is you, Sarah, then I'm disappointed. I think Sarah's still at work. Crap might be hitting the fan soon, and now my wife is pissed too. We'll try to update, but might have to delete the post if things go nuclear." Update 2. I was considering removing this post, but I just got a voicemail from my father-in-law that my presence was only being tolerated up until this point, and threatened a world of hurt if I didn't delete this post. Officially going to keep this post up. And if you're still reading this, Doug, I'm very disappointed in you. You're better than this. We'll continue to update, and thanks again for all your support, folks. Update 3. Lots of stuff just went down. My wife got a call from sister-in-law. From wise paraphrasing, Sarah started screaming and crying at her the moment my wife picked up and said that she just got demoted because of her Asian slur husband. Apparently, some of her co-workers have her on Facebook and showed the post to management, which, combined with her earlier rant, double whammied her back to being a line cook, and now she might get fired. My wife told her to go F herself and is now solidly on my side after taking the verbal abuse from Sarah and reading some of the comments here. My wife is still the opposite of happy though. Wife called mother-in-law and asked her what the F is going on with father-in-law. Mother-in-law was confused, so my wife played back the voicemail I had on my phone, and apparently my mother-in-law literally just walked away from the phone without hanging up and started screaming at father-in-law. Facebook post has now devolved into a cluster F flame war with family and friends jumping in. Suffice to say, this has officially gone nuclear. So that was the first group of updates that OP had given us. And before we move on to the next one, there's one thing I'd like to clarify to Sarah. Sarah, you did not get demoted because of OP. You got demoted because of you. Do not blame shift, that's never a good look. Now let's move on. I'd like to clarify that I got my wife and mother-in-law's permission to post this update, out of respect for them and their privacy. Suffice to say, it's been kind of nuts this past week. My wife and I had to turn off social media for a bit because of the crap storm caused by her cousin putting my last post on Sarah's Facebook page. Some people even tried to call the restaurant I work at to get me fired as retribution, but luckily everyone there is 100% on my side. Or as my boss put it, F Sarah, F those racists, F them so goddamn much. I guess it didn't help them that half the calls involved threats, screaming, and more racial slurs. We didn't hear any updates from her family, even though we assumed the crap met the fan after mother-in-law found out about father-in-law's threatening voicemail. Still disappointed in you, Doug. But that changed on Sunday night, when mother-in-law showed up at our door with overnight bags. After we took a moment to help unpack and calm down, she spilled the beans on everything. About father-in-law, also known as Doug. Apparently, my mother-in-law and father-in-law were already having trouble in their marriage, and it was made worse with recent political happenings. They are both on opposing sides. Seems that a line was crossed with the Kung Pao incident and his voicemail. When he refused to apologize for anything, typical Doug, she asked for a divorce, and he went berserk, trashing the house, threatening to beat me up. She didn't feel safe there, so that's when she came over. Other brother-in-law and sister-in-law live out of town. About extended family, also known as the Great Facebook War of 2021. You may have been able to tell already, but the extended family was largely arguing and fighting and divided along political lines for a few years now. And my cousin's Facebook post was likely just the light to set off the powder keg. According to my mother-in-law, the fallout has allegedly already led to some breakups, excommunication of some family members, and even one fist fight that ended with police involvement. Haven't verified this myself though. About Sarah, sister-in-law. According to my mother-in-law, Sarah came over to her place on Friday. The writing was on the wall and she was basically forced to quit. Despite her trying to start from scratch as a line cook, the entire staff turned against her. Nothing was coming back from the dish pit for her and she was getting the cold shoulder. She's a great chef, I will admit this is true, but they took no chances since it turns out, crap you not, they're partly owned by a Chinese investment company. I found this hard to believe and didn't want to add this detail, but it turned out to be true after some research. Won't say anything further for privacy. Word also got around in the local industry, and Sarah is essentially blacklisted from high-end establishments. She's now considering selling her home and moving to find work. As much as I don't like her and find her behavior horrifying, I didn't intend for this to happen, so I've reached out to some buds in other states to see if they had any openings. Whether or not she wants to take it is up to her. And no, she has not apologized for anything either, but I still want to be a decent person to her. It sure as hell doesn't feel like a happy ending, perhaps bittersweet justice, but that's all I can give you. Thank you all for your support and for reading. Well, OP, you're absolutely right. This doesn't sound like a happy ending because of, all of the blow-ups that happened. But then again, it's also bittersweet justice, like you say, for how Sarah acted. She got shunned and she got blacklisted. And I would say the best thing that she can do is actually sell her house and move to try to find a job, which sucks, but then again, she brought this on herself. In any case, OP, good on you for still trying to help her out. Even though she sucked so much and she hasn't even apologized for what she said to you, you still don't want to see her ruined and you want to help her out, which is a nice thing to do. Hopefully she reassesses her position and does apologize. In the meantime, all the best, OP. And it's that time that we've reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's stories. I certainly did reading them to you. So if you did, then go ahead and give the video a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and become a member of our Discord community that just keeps growing, and it is fantastic. And like I said in the beginning of the video, all of the relevant links are in the video description below, so be sure to check them out. And finally, I'd like to thank you all for taking the time to watch this video. It really does mean a lot to me that you guys enjoy this content, so thank you once again. And having said all that, I will see you guys in the next video.